Welcome into Duff Friends on a Fat Tuesday. Thank you so much for making me a part of your day. It's time now to switch on the Friend Zone. Now, this is where we let you have your say on our social media sites. We give you a topic, you discuss. Now, today's topic is all about a small Midwestern town that was thrust into the spotlight after a group of citizens planned to hold a prom that doesn't include same-sex couples. In small-town Sullivan, Indiana, there was a meeting this past weekend about its upcoming high school prom. Now, at the heart of this matter, apparently, is a couple of girls at Sullivan High School. They want to attend the prom together. But because this brings up the issue of same-sex couples and homosexuality at a high school function, that's what prompted these concerned students and parents to decide they want their own separate function. They're calling it a traditional prom, and this does not include same-sex couples. Now, according to Autumn in Terre Haute, who knows one of the families that is in favor of this proposed separate prom, she tells me that the son in this family doesn't want to go to the prom with these girls because they feel they are attention-seeking and they don't want to feed into this. Now, it's important to point out that Sullivan High School is in no way affiliated with this group. The school's principal said that the original prom is open to all of its students. Now, when I asked you for your comments on this matter, you believe that's exactly how it should be. Michelle from North Carolina said, "I can't believe it's even a real issue anymore. You know, most of the kids here don't even go as couples, they go in big groups." Ashley in Virginia wrote in, "We had a gay student at our proms and homecoming, and it was no big deal. We treated them the same as every other couple." But what really set off a firestorm about this story is what one of the alternative prom's biggest supporters said about homosexuals in a televised news report. Diana Medley is a special education teacher in Sullivan County. Now, she told NBC affiliate WTWO that gays attending this prom is, quote, offensive, and that she believes that gays have no purpose. Now, as you might expect, those remarks offended a lot of people. One of them includes Deb in Chicago. She has a gay son, and she shared with me an email that she wrote personally to Medley. "I love my son to distraction just like any parent would. High school was a painful time for him because he knew he was gay, but he also knew that he had to hide it. He attended homecomings and proms passing as a straight teenager while pretending to be part of a straight couple. This didn't change anything about who he was internally, it just made him more acceptable to other people externally at great cost to his own mental health. I beg you to consider the psychological consequences for the teens you are attempting to exclude. I was a special education teacher for 14 years, and I know that you understand the value of inclusion for students with disabilities. This is no different." Now, we also heard from Bobby in Illinois on this topic. She said that this is the epitome of ignorance and ugliness. This is what teaches young people intolerance and to be bullies. This, by the way, is another form of bullying a kid. Sketch from Terre Haute wrote in, "My concern is in particular with Mrs. Medley. She is a special education teacher, and yet she says that gay people have no purpose in life. She says that she doesn't understand what homosexuality is and is therefore against it. I expect it won't be long before Westboro joins in with Mrs. Medley in her plight." Amanda from Illinois believes that this could have negative effects in the Sullivan community. Sullivan is a small town. I can't imagine that they have a lot of openly gay high school students. So I can't help but think that this whole thing is basically targeting a few kids. It isn't like anyone is trying to throw a gay pride parade in the middle of their prom. And then John from Terre Haute fired off this bombshell. On a positive note, maybe the cool, socially well-adjusted people who don't live in a world filled with hate can now enjoy their people with teeth prom without having to interact with these Uncle Daddy idiots. Way to keep it classy, Sullivan County. All right, let's turn this one over to the Friend Zone hotline. We got Scott in Chicago. Scott, what's your take on all this?
You know, first and foremost, I think we should be in a society where we should all be together. Okay, this is 2013. To me, whether people like it or not, you know, gays, lesbians, transgenders, bisexuals, whatever, they're going to be here. So the way I've always looked at with people, no matter what their orientation is, no matter what their race is, I try to look at people for who they are, and I'm a big believer in the philosophy that we're all here together, we might as well find something that can make us coexist. Now, if the students seem to think that they might themselves cause too much of a distraction, then, okay, fine. Go ahead and have your separate prom. But if they're so weirded out that other people are going to be there, to me, it's just stupid. If they want to go and have a separate prom, if that's their way of thinking, go ahead, let them do it. But at the same point, like I said earlier, it becomes enough of, I think it's more of a distraction, honestly, to have separate. That's just me. I don't understand why we just can't work together.
Let me ask you this. Do you get the sense that eventually students on both sides of this debate could be targeted and unfortunately picked on as a result of this movement?
Oh, I could certainly see that happening. Who's to say that the people who want all this stuff done don't go and sneak in to the second prom if it's held on the same day? I don't know if that's what they're wanting to do or not. But who's to say that somebody doesn't show up, to the gay, lesbian, whatever prom and instigate some problems? Who's also to say that maybe somebody that is gay, lesbian, transsexual, whatever, that is at the separate prom doesn't turn around and use this as an outlet to perhaps, quote unquote, get back at some of the people for starting this controversy in the first place? I could easily see it being a problem on both sides.
Now, one of the hot topics in this debate are the controversial comments that were made by Diana Medley, the special needs teacher in Sullivan County. When you heard what she said, what was going through your mind?
I think she's absolutely hypocritical. Okay, being a special needs teacher, she, of all people, should understand that certain things in terms of the way people are not by choice. I don't know of anybody, whether it's friends or family, who are gay, lesbian, whatever, who actually choose it. I don't no different than we don't choose, that people don't choose to be straight. Okay? Nobody chooses their orientation. It is what it is. Certainly is our choice to act on those things that we're created with. Certainly it is. No different than, Duff, you're married. When the first time you saw your beautiful wife, there was, hey, you obviously found her very attractive. Nothing wrong with that. You didn't wake up one day and just say that, wow, this is what the type of person that I want to be with. I don't know if that makes sense, if what I'm saying makes any sense or not. What I'm getting at is none of us choose what attracts us and what doesn't attract us. For a teacher to do that, especially a special ed teacher, think of it this way. Special ed kids a lot of times, and I have one in my family, special needs child, will go out and act up in public. They don't mean to do it, but that's just something, something overstimulates them, something causes them to get stressed out easier than those of us who don't have those issues. And people treat them rather ignorantly in society. I don't know how many times I've heard stories of people, for example, who have autism, and they'll act up somewhere out in public, and somebody who doesn't know that they're autistic or knows nothing of autism will go off on the parents saying, why aren't you raising your kids better? Why is your kid acting like a brat when they know nothing about it? So you would think that a special education teacher would have enough sense to realize that people don't necessarily choose what they are. It's absolutely ridiculous. Again, I don't mean any disrespect against any specific religious group. I have a religion I practice as well. But unfortunately, I think at times religion makes people rather stupid, and this is a case of, or at least one instance of that happening.
Now, with that in mind, there is an online petition floating around the internet right now that has about 2,500 signatures attached to it, and it suggests that she be punished or even fired for making those remarks. What action should the school board take in this case?
Oh, boy, I'm torn between a rock and a hard place because I absolutely believe that her comments were stupid. I certainly would not want someone like that to be teaching my son or daughter. At the same point, we live in a country where we're supposed to be able to speak what's on our mind, whether it fits in with what society accepts or does not accept. My father, Vietnam vet, my grandfather, World War II vet, I've had relatives fight on both sides of the Civil War. They didn't fight for our thoughts and our words to be censored. I certainly understand why people would get upset, and I certainly can see why people would want her fired. Again, I don't want a bigot teaching my kid, but at the same point, to me, it's absolutely ridiculous that people are losing their jobs because of their opinions, whether or not we agree with them or not. To me, it doesn't matter. They have a right to their opinion, and I don't think anybody should actually be fired for it.
Now, a lot of people are arguing that this traditional prom concept really undermines the efforts to stop kids from being bullies to one another in the schools. What progress are we making in that department?
I think, number one, first of all, we do have to find better ways to communicate to people. I've often always believed that you are raised to hate. I don't think hate is just something that people are born with. I'll give you a fair example. When I was younger, my grandfather had told me a story. He made up one, but it was a good way to make sure that I didn't turn into a racist. And he said, you're on a boat in Lake Michigan, and the boat tips over, and you can't swim. And nobody's there, and all of a sudden, there's a black guy. Now, what are you going to do? Are you going to just stay there and drown, or are you going to let that black guy save your life? And I said, well, of course, I'm going to let him save my life. And he said, well, if that black person is good enough to save your life, he's good enough to be your friend. I wish more people would think that way and would raise their kids to think that way. None of us are perfect. I certainly am not. I highly doubt anybody that is going to listen to this is perfect, and if they are, I would love to get some tips on how to do that.
Best advice I could give, Scotty? Keep coming back to the Friend Zone.
Anytime, Duff. Pleasure to be here.
That's going to wrap up this segment of Duff and Friends. If you would like to be a part of Duff and Friends, or if you've got any questions or comments, be sure to email them to me at scexaminer@hotmail.com. You can also follow me on Twitter @DuffTyler. I am the aforementioned Duff Tyler. So long, everybody.